Tonight, rail plans for Toowoomba fall short on speed.
An inquiry into the 2022 floods finds a collective failure by insurers.
The promise to free up more local land for housing.
And an outback adventure for music lovers.
This is 7 News with Joanne, Desmond and Nathan Spurling.
Good evening, thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Well, first tonight, the state government has revealed a passenger rail line from Toowoomba to Brisbane could take more than 2 hours per trip. Council says the bloated travel time isn't ideal, but it's a start.
It's the fast rail slower than cars or buses, with no sign of being fast-tracked.
130 minutes is probably a little bit longer than what one would have expected.
And it will be some time, I anticipate, before that would stack up for Toowoomba.
The state government's $15 million business case for a rail line from Brisbane to Toowoomba blows out council's proposed travel time of 45 minutes to 130. The Premier explaining the government is prioritising the tracks on the Sunshine and Gold Coasts.
Once we finish those, then we can talk about what's next.
Starting at the Brisbane CBD and ending in Gowrie, the 2+ hour trip is the best option. The proposal uses inland rail infrastructure until Calvert, then connecting with the existing Queensland rail network. It would have 10 stops before arriving in Toowoomba.
Picking up passengers both ways will be a benefit to not only the service but those that are travelling.
The challenge, of course, is the economics of funding them and of passenger numbers.
Mayor McDonald says more can be done now to better connect Toowoomba to the southeast.
Is an option that can be delivered right now, and that's a connected passenger rail.
Tom Duffy, 7 News.
A federal inquiry into the 2022 floods that devastated homes and businesses across the Lockyer Valley has slammed how the insurance industry handled the disaster. The Parliamentary Committee concluded there was a collective failure to meet obligations to policyholders.
It was widespread and devastating after more than 500 millimetres fell, cutting off entire towns. 2 years on, flood victims now know what more could have been done to support them during the natural disaster.
A lot of my friends in the street had insurance and they were waiting, they were getting messed around.
Many shared their horror stories at a federal inquiry with the findings now released.
And then a lot of the charities and stuff wouldn't help them as much because they had insurance.
The committee made 86 recommendations, including a nationwide buyback and resilience program for very high-risk flood areas.
Well, there's 3 broad areas of recommendations. There's a group around consumer outcomes and how claims are handled. The second is around coverage, and that is people's ability to access affordable insurance. And the third area is around resilience and mitigation.
The inquiry also concluded insurance companies fail too many people. The Insurance Council of Australia has welcomed the findings, so residents and businesses are able to get the help they need during major weather events.
Well, the industry knew that the system was absolutely tested and that we were smashed in 2022, which is why we've done a raft of changes since then. We have an independent review of the Code of Practice underway.
Customers are being urged to go over their policy.
Make sure you know what you're insured for and make sure that the sum insured, that is the amount of money to cover a rebuild of your house, reflects what it does cost these days to build a house.
Ben Meehan, 7 News.
Police are investigating after a 37-year-old male driver died in a 2-vehicle crash near Mergen. The man's Toyota Hilux and a white Nissan Navara collided on Bix Road in Silverleaf just after 9 a.m. yesterday. The driver of the Nissan, a 48-year-old woman, was airlifted to Sunshine Coast University Hospital in a stable condition. Anyone with dash camera vision or CCTV is urged to contact police.
The LNP is promising to work with Toowoomba Regional Council to free up 38 blocks of land for social housing. Just 2 candidates were out and about in the region today, 5 days until the election.
It was busy at pre-polling stations across Toowoomba as candidates made their last-minute pitch to undecided voters. Those making an early decision weren't in the mood to talk, keeping their preferences close to their chests. South Toowoomba Labor candidate Susan Krause has promised to help those doing it tough in the community if elected.
Obviously, cost of living it's hitting everybody, and we need a stable government to go forward and address those issues.
Toowoomba North MP Trevor Watts was the only candidate at Newtown vowing to address the housing crisis. The LNP's Homes with Purpose plan will deliver 53,500 additional social and community homes by 2044.
There's $1 billion available for councils to try and help with trunk infrastructure so that we can unlock land. And we know that if we can unlock land, that's going to make blocks more affordable.
20% of Queenslanders have voted early across the state.
I love elections because it's a really great opportunity. Early voting is a great opportunity for me to meet everybody who's out actually thinking about what do we need for government.
Ben Meehan, 7 News.
The country's tradie crisis is on a knife's edge as more young Australians find themselves unable to live on an apprentice's wage. New data has revealed the number of graduates from fee-free TAFE courses have dropped.
22-year-old Clay Stevens finished his concreting apprenticeship last year, but the rising cost of living made it incredibly tough.
Well, it's a long 4 years to get a good pay at the end of the day, so when you're on minimum wage, there's always better jobs out there.
For many young Australians, it's just not a wage they can afford to live on, and it's sending the tradie shortage into further chaos.
You definitely need heaps of people to build houses around here, but I don't know if there will be enough, really.
Despite the government's fee-free TAFE courses introduced last year, only 13% of those who enrolled have graduated.
The pay is extraordinarily positive once you are skilled, but in that lead up to a skilled traineeship, it is very difficult for young people these days, and something needs to be done to address that.
Australia needs an extra 90,000 skilled tradies in the next 3 months if the government's going to reach their housing targets. But industry leaders say that achieving that requires a targeted approach.
We need to balance the pool between attracting locals and building our locals and training and developing them, and also the stopgap short-term quick solution of bringing in skilled migrants who then need their own housing and their own infrastructure.
It's a stance echoed by the opposition.
The government's not prioritising the skills that we need in the economy, particularly to build houses. They can put these skills on a list and make it a priority to bring construction tradies to Australia.
Brooke Young, 7 News.
The cream of the crop in country music are heading southwest as the Queensland Music Trail returns for another year. There are Aussie and international acts in the lineup with a big boost expected for local economies.
This isn't your typical Aussie road trip. It's the second time the Outback Music Trail will take over Queensland.
Charleville, Roma, Cunnamulla. It's been an amazing time for us.
Last year's event brought in more than $750,000 to local economies.
Getting to share my music with them, it was such an awesome experience, and I feel like we need more of these.
Organisers say the next itinerary will be even bigger with the support of the state government. Aussie musician Taylor Moss plans to come along for the entire ride.
Last year I went just to Charleville, and this year I'm doing the whole trail from day 1 to day 7.
And performing is just one part of the adventure. There'll also be workshops to give kids a taste of the twang.
Hopefully we can go out there and we can inspire those kids to fight for their dreams.
The journey starts next April through May. Tom Duffy, 7 News.
Oh, fabulous event, isn't it?
What an experience that will be, Jo.
Yes,
good
definitely.
stuff.
Well, ahead tonight, the local specialist doctor retiring after 45 years.
And the feisty new addition proving to be a handful at the Darling Downs Zoo. And thanks for joining us here on 7. The Darling Downs Zoo has welcomed a new African lion cub. Caesar is 10 weeks old and already weighs more than 8 kilograms. Now, the pregnancy surprised zookeepers because they thought his 13-year-old mother, Sassy, was too old to give birth. The cub was born via a caesarean, meaning his mother can't produce milk, and keepers need to hand raise him until he gets bigger.
He does love to talk. Lions are very vocal. Even the parents, they do tend to talk quite a lot, even just in a conversation, not just the roar that everyone's familiar with.
Here's a little chatterbox. Now, visitors won't be able to see Caesar every day until he's older and more comfortable around strangers.
Well, Queensland scientists believe they're close to a cure for paralysis using nerve cells from a patient's nose. A world-first human trial will begin next year, offering hope to millions of people across the world.
Perry Cross broke his neck playing rugby 30 years ago. The incident left him a quadriplegic, unable to move from the neck down.
It's hard every day.
That's why he started the Perry Cross Spinal Cord Foundation to work towards finding a cure for paralysis. And now it's involved in a world-first human trial at Griffith University. Researchers will take nerve cells from a patient's nose to create a nerve bridge. This will be surgically transplanted into the injury site of the spinal cord.
Once implanted, the cells of the nerve bridge then integrate with the spinal cord and create an environment which promotes regeneration of the nerves.
But it's not an immediate fix. The cells will take time to regenerate and heal.
Patients will need to undergo physical rehabilitation with specialist providers.
Before and after the surgery, the team works with the Advanced Design and Prototype Institute to create 3D printed models of each patient's spine.
This will provide an exact replica on which surgeons can develop a personalised surgical approach for each patient.
Anyone with a spinal cord injury who is interested in taking part can register online.
Ultimately, the greatest hope is to give people their dignity back.
Rebecca Jensen, 7 News.
Keen bowlers in Toowoomba were pretty in pink on the green at the weekend to help raise money for breast cancer. One 92-year-old man wasn't afraid to show off his pink feathered best at the Drayton Bowls Club. 80 players from as far as Cunnamulla pulled $1,400 for blush cancer care and had a chance at $5,000 in prize money.
Well, a local medical specialist has shone his torch down his last ear, nose and throat on the Darling Downs. Dr Ross Harrington was farewelled at a retirement celebration in Toowoomba.
Well-wishers were tightly packed into the Soul Kitchen on Ruthven Street as local medicos hosted an event on Friday for Ross Harrington.
This is the community level medicine that I always wanted to practice.
He grew up on a sheep station near Richmond in Queensland's northern outback.
A good friend of mine when I was in England rang up to ask why wouldn't I join him in this place called Toowoomba.
Dr Harrington became an ear, nose and throat surgeon in 1979, a 45-year-long career with as many as 12,000 tonsils removed.
Where we are now is almost can't believe where we started.
With his help, Toowoomba became a training ground for the next generation of specialists.
He's been a mentor to me. He inspired me to pursue the career in ENT.
But now that he's hanging up his tools, he's unsure what he will do with all the extra time.
I'm quite confused about it all, but I know that my next careful plan is to do nothing until I feel so bored I want to take up a hobby.
Josh van Staden, 7 News.
Wishing you all the best too. Well, time now to have a look at what's happening in sport. And Nathan, it was a pretty big Saturday night at Toowoomba Speedway.
It certainly was, Joe. The best dirt modified drivers were in action, where the newly crowned Aussie champ was taken down. Well, there was also plenty of noise and high octane thrills at the Warwick Drag Fest.
Stream 7 News anywhere, anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.
And welcome back for all of tonight's sport. There was plenty of excitement at the Toowoomba Speedway on Saturday night as thousands turned out to watch the best V8 dirt modified drivers in Australia. And that included a former Bathurst winner.
$5,000 was up for grabs for the winner of the V8 dirt modified Super Rooster Classic. Chris Corbett started in pole position.
Chris got a good start. He was off the pole, so he did definitely got a jump start on us, but we're able to catch him up through the lap traffic, and that's probably where we made our most ground.
Yeah, once we just sort of stayed on the low line and kept out of trouble, the lap traffic was a bit tough, but yeah.
David Clark, who's the recently crowned Australian champ, worked his way up from 5th to 2nd.
able to make the most of the bottom and make our way to the front by the end of it.
But stoppages slowed his momentum, with Corbett taking the win.
We were definitely there. Whether on green light racing, I don't think we might have got him, but I think losing up traffic definitely provides that opportunity to when we got to move offline and see what we can make happen.
Also in attendance was Paul Morris, who has driven just about everything in his career. He took out Bathurst in 2014, co-driving with Chaz Mostert, but returned to the dirt on Saturday after a lengthy break.
It was a pretty successful night. 9 years since I've been on the speedway. Last time in a sprint car, first night in the dirt mod. And just good to be here at Toowoomba, a ripper racetrack.
Jack Lewis, 7 News.
Meanwhile, the Warwick Drag Fest returned at the weekend for the first time since the completion of the new quarter-mile drag strip. It's where a record number of drivers went to Mount Morgan Park, for 2 days of speed, smoke and burning rubber.
From Sydney to Perth, drivers from around the country revved into Morgan Park at the weekend for another edition of the Warwick Drag Fest.
We have everything from full-blown drag cars to the juniors and their dragsters and motorbikes to street cars, and there's a bracket for everyone to race in.
It was the perfect chance to show off Warwick's new drag strip, which has doubled in length.
We've just upgraded the drag strip to a quarter-mile drag strip. We've got a brand new racing surface.
After years of hard work and interruptions from flooding and COVID, the rubber has now hit the road.
It's all good to go. We've been 3 years down, rebuilding the place, and now this is our first year back. Everyone loves the new track. They love it. So yeah, everyone's praising it.
And the new track means racing will only get louder from next year, with nitro cars on the way.
We got a heap more events coming, so 2025 will be a big year.
Jack Lewis, 7 News.
Warwick's Lucinda Burke was one of the Brisbane Heat's best with the bat in yesterday's final of the T20 Spring Challenge, but the team in teal couldn't bring home the trophy. The Hobart Hurricanes won the game on the very last ball.
Batting first, it wasn't the start Brisbane were looking for. Warwick's Lucinda Burke came to the crease with the Heat 4 for 77. She started by rotating the strike, but soon freed the arms.
And that is the release shot that they were just looking for. That is a superb shot from Burke. And another release shot there from Burke. That will go to the boundary as well.
But the streak didn't last long, with Burke stumped by a wide tempter from Molly Strano. She finished as the Heat's second top scorer in the match as Brisbane scored 133. But the Hurricanes were up for the task, and it came down to the final ball with 1 run needed.
Oh, and she's got through, and that will be a win for the Hobart Hurricanes.
The Heat kick off their WBBL campaign against the Adelaide Strikers on Sunday. And in Toowoomba cricket, Highfields and Districts Railway Club have scored their first win of the season with a defining victory over the Southern District Magpies, while a strong bowling performance from Western Districts helped them to an 80-run victory over University. And Northern Brothers Diggers took down Med Easts thanks to a dominant 100 from Chris Glass. All 6 sides have now won at least once after 3 rounds. Jack Lewis, 7 News.
Nice even comp so far. Looking good, Joe, and that's it for our sport. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Nate. Stay with us after the break. Livio joins us with all the weather details.
G'day, Livio, Regano with tonight's weather. It's been a very quiet day across Queensland on the rainfall front. Virtually nothing at all falling out of the sky. A couple of little spots here and there on radar, but very dry generally. The main point of interest is the rising temperatures, which will occur later this week, affecting most of Queensland. Top temperatures today were mostly in the high 20s, which is more or less average for the time of year, and overnight minimum temps were near normal as well. The highest top was 31 degrees at Dalby. Let's take a look at the satellite loop now. There are smudges of cloud here and there, but most of them unproductive. There was one storm over the Carnarvon Ranges, another little one around the Youngalla Range, and perhaps one or two tiny little echoes near Childers, and that's pretty much it for today. That's what you call isolated. So let's look at today's chart. We've got a low in the Tasman Sea, and that's squashed up against a high just over Tasmania. And those two systems together are making for quite a strong southerly wind as swell, just affecting southern areas like Golden Sunshine Coast. It quickly peters out as you go north. There's an inland trough as well. On tomorrow's chart, you can see that inland trough breaks off the coastal section. Isobars spread apart. Winds do start to drop generally, especially in the south. And once again, very isolated shower activity. Now the latest from BOM, the Darling Downs and Grano Belt forecast a mostly sunny day with a high fire danger. Dalby 33 degrees, Gundawindi 32, Toowoomba 27 and Stanthorpe 26. For the southeast coast, slight chance only of a shower. Gatton 31 degrees, Ipswich 30, Brisbane 28. Looking ahead for Toowoomba, rising temperatures will peak in the 30s on Thursday ahead of a cooler change on Friday. The chance of any rain is generally quite small but does rise on the weekend. Warwick too displays that thing. We've got a trough passage on the weekend which could raise our odds of a storm 60 to 70% as you can see. And for Dalby as well, and of course as those storms arrive the temperature will rise right up as well. It'll peak at 35 degrees on Thursday. It's the middle of spring folks, and in Queensland that means bushfire season regardless of any recent rain we may have had. 3 basic ingredients are needed to get a bushfire going: high temperature for ignition, low humidity to keep the fuel dry and strong wind to oxygenate and spread the flames. In Queensland, this combination is most likely from September through November, just before the start of the summer rains, when rapidly rising temperatures ignite the leaf litter left over from the dry season. Catch you later, folks. Have a nice evening, and now it's back to the team.
Great, thanks for that, Livio. And that's all from us for this Monday. Thanks for your company.
And if you'd like to see anything from our news again, there's replays over on 7plus, or you can download the 7 News app. So from everyone here at the team, enjoy the rest of your night. Good night.
Good night.